James Jones comes out. We got Russell Wilson topics and Aaron Rodgers topics, and very exciting. Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is when you're in your career, you played in the preseason. Everybody played in the preseason. And not only did you play in the preseason, but the third preseason game, you played like a half.
Yeah.
Okay, so now nobody does.
Yeah.
And by the way, 11 quarterbacks didn't, 8 lost. Mm-hmm. Okay, and the offensive line play last week was atrocious.
Yeah.
So we have to be honest about this. The minute we went to a 17th game, a lot of the veteran players said, timeout. That's what it feels like to me.
As they should.
And so I thought week 1 was unusually sloppy, but I think this is the new NFL.
Yeah, well, people got to understand, number one, you're not going to put your best players out there to risk getting injured, right? I mean, we're seeing superstars go down in week 1, right? You're not going to put your players out there risk getting injured. Number two, this is week 1 stuff. It's going to be week 2 stuff. Defenses start off earlier than offenses. They click faster. Offenses take time to get their stride. I don't care who you are, right? Patrick Mahomes was blessed to go up against a terrible Cardinals defense. But you don't just come out and score 40, score 35. Like, it's hard to score points. And offenses are trying to find their identity. Defenses, they got their whole playbook in week 1 of training camp. So they start off faster than offense. So I expect this stuff week 1. I expect blocks to be missed. I expect some quarterbacks to be getting sacked. I expect some drop balls in live situations. I expect that stuff.
Well,
and preseason is not necessarily going to help
all
that.
the pass rushers, Khalil Mack, Von Miller, Bosa's, the pass rushers had a great weekend. Max Crosby. Yeah. All right, so Aaron Rodgers had a quote either yesterday or today where he said, I got to be patient with these young guys. Yeah. But in the game, he ghosts Christian Watson. And my takeaway is this. And I said this earlier, we know Aaron's great, blah, blah, blah. But this is different. These are small college guys, and Aaron now, at this point in his career, he's not going to show up to all the camps off season. He's not going to play in the preseason. And Minnesota is a handful. Yeah. I've been told that's the loudest stadium in the league.
It's one of them.
It's brutal.
Especially when the Packers come, too.
Okay, good point. Yeah. And as you know, it's a division game. Yeah. There's a different speed.
Harder to win.
Win. So my takeaway is, okay, Aaron, if you're not going to show up to all the camps and you're not going to do preseason, then you got to go back to Christian Watson pretty quick here. He's a kid. The other kid played at Nevada. He didn't play in front of 30,000 people. That's where I think Aaron can tell me he's got to be patient. But I think in that moment, why not just go back to those kids?
Well, I think, number one of the main things that stood out to me when I was listening to Aaron's interviews, he talked about MAs, right? So MAs is missed assignments. That's what we call it. MAs are missed assignments. So that means you're not where you are supposed to be. And he went on there. He said, I don't care about drops. And I've been around Aaron. He will come back to you if you drop a ball, if you're where you're supposed to be. So for me, this is bigger. Like, the young fellas got to get in their playbooks. They got to be where they're supposed to be. And number 3, he hasn't earned that. He's not Devontae Adams. He's not Randall. He hasn't earned for you to drop a big bomb for a touchdown and say, next play, I'm coming back to you. Would you love for Aaron Rodgers to do that or any quarterback to do that? Absolutely. But Christian Watson has not earned that, right? You have to earn that type stuff.
Okay, true. But Devontae's gone.
Yeah.
Minnesota's got a star receiver, and you got to get over it.
Yeah.
You're right.
No doubt.
But my takeaway is, we can pout and ghost.
Yeah.
But the game's live, and we can't guard Justin Jefferson. So I would make the argument that if I was LaFleur, I would have taken Aaron in and I'd say, listen, and some of this is on LaFleur. Yeah. We're all banging on Russell Wilson for deferring. What about Matt going, hey, I know it drives you nuts. We got to go back to these guys now.
And for me, I blame it a little bit on LaFleur too. But at the end of the day, the way the game was going, number one, Minnesota was getting after Aaron. They were coming. They were getting pressure, right? Our 2 tackles are not there. They was getting pressure on the quarterback. That's number one. Number 2, he's trying to get the ball to everybody. He's trying to give Sammy Watkins a little love, Randall Cobb a little love. The one thing I do like is the very first play of the game. We know Christian Watson dropped it, but you can tell it was an emphasis. We have to get him involved, right? And that was designed by Coach LaFleur. We are going to dial this thing up first play of the game to get our rookie involved, right? So for me, that's on the coach too. Let's try to dial up another play that he is the number 1 read. In this offense, he's the number 1 read on this play to get him the ball. I didn't see that the rest of the game neither.
So it's an interesting. Remember, I think it was LaFleur's first year. They played Tampa in a playoff game. Aaron's a legend a couple years ago. Yeah. LaFleur's a kid. And in that playoff game, if I recall, they elected late to go field goal over going for it. And the takeaway I remember that week was Aaron should have just said, timeout. I'm Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson this week. Young coach.
Yeah.
First game with him.
Yeah.
I think it's a fair criticism. Call a timeout and go, brother, 5 yards?
Yeah.
But both Aaron and Russell, with unproven young smart coaches, sort of deferred to the decision made by. Now, in both instances, if you remember the Aaron drive a couple years ago, Tampa was giving Aaron some problems. They were getting good pressure. Well, Seattle was getting after Russell Wilson. So in both instances, we can kind of beat up on Aaron and Russell with young coaches deferring. But my question is, everybody says, well, Brady wouldn't defer. Well, hell, Brady deferred for years to Bill Belichick on everything.
Yeah.
So you tell me, how often, even with an Aaron, did Aaron just go, timeout? We're not doing that.
Yeah. So this is the thing with Aaron, right? So, obviously I played with Aaron and played with Coach Mike, right? So it's been plenty of times we have been in situations like that to where do we need to go for it? Do we need to punt? Do we need to kick? And Coach Mike would send field goal, send punt team, and Aaron to stand on the field. I'm not going to scream for timeout, but and then Coach Mike hey, come on, field goal back.
So
We're gonna go for this. You know what I'm saying? But for me, the whole situation, will you have guys on the sideline that stand next to the head coach and let him know certain situations you need to call a timeout in this situation right after this? So for them not to even be aware of that situation, Russ, the coach, and all that, letting all that time run out, then calling a timeout, that is bad management. Yeah. Number two, you have people, analytics is big, right? You have people on the sideline saying, man, 64 yards, 4th and 5. Give this ball to Dangerous. Number three, coach, you got to know where you're at. This man just came from Seattle, right? Was the savior in Seattle, won a Super Bowl in Seattle. You know how much this game means to him, right? You put that ball in his hands, let him go get that first down. And even if he doesn't, I put it in Russell Wilson's hand, he didn't get the job. Because even if he does make that 64-yard field goal, you know what? It's not going to be great call by coach. You know what it's going to be? Russell Wilson got him down there. So let Russell Wilson sink the ship, and he's making $200 and something million.
But it's interesting. So in both Aaron with a young coach and Russell, they kind of deferred. Yeah. Here's Peyton Manning said this once on that Manning cast, and I thought it was a really good point. He's very entertaining on that thing. And he really, you get to hear Peyton talk through the game. The other night, he's going crazy
Quick
on that play. He's like, for a minute. Yeah. But he said something last year that I thought was fascinating. He says, a lot of times, regardless of what analytics say, he goes, if I'm on that field, I can hear the grunts. Yeah. I can sense we're getting beat at left tackle. And the coach can't because he's 28 yards away. Yep. I'm 3 yards away. And he goes, there have been drives where everybody will say, go for it. And I know I'm in the huddle, and the left guard's like, my knee's killing me.
100%. Yeah.
And so, to me, Aaron and Russell, because of your proximity to the play, but Peyton said, it's so easy to go 4th and 3. He goes, but there are drives when it's a 9-play drive, and your left guard is literally walking out of that huddle, and he's hurt. And by the way, the matchup, tight end to linebacker, it's not going well. The yards are hard. So I kind of always defer to whoever the quarterback feels the game, the 100%. Coach just calls it.
Yeah, but that's the great coach has got to feel the game as well. You got to feel the game. If you're not a coach that can feel the game well, you're going to be in this situation
Who was the best at? Who was the best coach you had at feeling the game? You almost felt like he was playing.
Well, see, I didn't play for a lot of coaches. You know what I mean? So Coach Mike early in his career was really good at feeling his players. You know what I'm saying? So it was times where Coach Mike he would like come up to the players like, "Hey, y'all want to go for this? How y'all feeling about this certain situation?" That right? So he had a really good feel for us, And like you said, that bringing that up, we've been in situations like that where Coach, we can't block them. Coach, as much as I'm open every play, but I'm lying. They are on me like we can't win right now. Our best bet is to punt the football and let our defense go out there and play. And as athletes, you don't want to say that because you're a competitor. You like, man, can't nobody guard me out here. I could block anybody out. But it's not the case like that. But Coach Mike, early in his career, did a really good job of filling his players out.
All right. So you play with Derek Carr.
Yes, sir.
I thought he was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
I saw a stat that Bosa and Khalil Mack, they had 42 dropbacks. And some of those are just drop back, throw it out. Yeah. But of the deeper drops, he was either sacked, hit, or hurried in 31 and a half times. So if you take the little quick step throws out, basically 36 of his 31 of his 36, he had no time to throw. And so I think it's one of those where it's easy to – I mean, Herbert had better protection. Your thoughts on what you saw with the Raiders, because they just could not move the ball. Yeah,
I'm not worried about Derek Carr at all. I think the Raiders will get this fixed. I think it was one of those ones where, I'm pulling out the Ferrari today, and I'm going to let the world see him. And he pulled out Davante Adams, and he said, I'm going to let the world see Davante Adams and myself are on the same page. So it was a couple throws to where I felt he forced to Davante Adams, trying to make the big plays and, ended up throwing interceptions. But, yes, Khalil Mack and Bosa, it was pressure all game long. It was certain times to where I thought maybe he could have got out and snuck out and used his legs to make some plays to slow the pass rush down. And I felt like they could have gave the ball to Josh Jacobs a little bit more. But with all that being said, they still had an opportunity to go down there and win this ball game as bad as they played. Yeah. Derek Carr is a great quarterback in this league. He will get this fixed, and he is going to put up big numbers in this offense, and you are going to see it on Sunday against a team that Patty Mahomes just made look like, why y'all even run out here in the Arizona Cardinals, but this is fixable.
Okay, so tonight it's Herbert and Mahomes. We all know Mahomes is magical. As a former 9-year player, a Super Bowl champ, what do you see with Herbert? Because Herbert's really, even in L.A., it's the number 2 team. Yeah. Now you got Lincoln Riley, the Rams, and the Chargers. Yeah. For those of us in L.A., we get a lot of Chargers news. Yeah. And it's like the players in the organization are like, this kid is. Yeah. I mean, they're in awe of him. Yeah. What do you see about him?
I mean, you see a MVP quarterback of this National Football League. I don't know if it's this year, next year, whatever, but I see a guy that's going to win multiple MVPs. He's that type talent, Just if you watch some of those throws that he made on Sunday.
How about the one where he did it on one leg?
One leg, put the ball on the back shoulder. Dropping it right over the safeties. Like, some of these throws is like, I've seen it before, and I played with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre. Like, these are those type throws. Right. These are special throws that he makes his receivers better. Like, these receivers are not open. Like, if you play with Justin Herbert as a receiver and you came from Cincinnati and you got 50 catches, if you come with Justin Herbert, you're probably going to have 75 catches, just the way he can place the ball and put the ball anywhere he wants to put the ball. The kid is special. The Chiefs are in trouble. This is Herbert's league, man.
Yeah, no, he's really special. So do you think we were talking about the Chiefs and Arizona. And I said, you may have just been waiting. I said, there's certain positions. If you're a salesperson, you got to be a people person. If you're an air traffic controller or an accountant, you got to be a detail person, right? If you're a quarterback, you got to be kind of a verbal person. You don't have to be as a receiver all the time. You don't have to be as a a whip linebacker, but quarterback, you got to talk. And I said, Kyler's not overly verbal. Yeah. In fact, CeeDee Lamb, who played with Baker and Kyler, was quoted saying, like, sometimes we're like, speak up. Yeah. And so Kingsbury's talked about it. We're not practicing. We're not talking. When I hear that stuff publicly, it makes me think that's kind of who he is. Yeah. Maybe with Kyler, he's just talented, and there is a much greater ceiling than I see. Are you worried about that? Doesn't talk, doesn't communicate, doesn't watch film?
Yeah. I'm definitely worried about it if you're talking about CeeDee Lamb said it coming from college, and now his pro teammates are saying it, with the Cardinals, because the main thing at the quarterback position, you got to be a leader. And sometimes it's not about just how you play. Sometimes you have to pick and choose when to stand up and say something. Whether it's in the meeting, whether it's in the game, you have to stand up and say something. You cannot always be quiet. You have to build those relationships with your teammates on the practice field, in the locker room, all that. So you can, in certain situations, come out and get on people and be vocal and be able to say these things. Like, they're paying you the big money to not just win games, but to be the leader of this ball club, right?
So Aaron got on you occasionally.
100%. And I'm the main one who told him, get on me. The way I was raised, get on me. If I'm not making plays, if I'm not doing my job, if I'm not where I'm supposed to be, get on me. That's the relationships that we had. And no sensitivity came out of that, But for me, Kyler needs to build these relationships with his teammates to be able to get on them.
And what do you mean?
That.
Go to dinner? What do you mean? Movies? What do you mean?
I mean, it don't necessarily. Kyler might be a guy that want to go home and play video games and just sit in the house and all that. I don't mind that. But when we're in the locker room, when we're at the lunch table, we need to be chilling. We need to be hanging out with each other. We need to be having these conversations. At practice, we need to be talking over these situations. We need to be saying, hey, I like the way you run this route on this. I don't like the way you run the route. Like, we need to have these conversations. That's the only way we are going to get better. And the leader of the ball club, you got to be the main guy talking.
Give me a good inside story where Aaron just said, hey, James, blah, blah, blah. When's the last time he got after you?
Man,
you guys are tight.
I got a couple of those, man. We were undefeated. The Broncos were undefeated. Von Miller,
home or away?
We were away. I think we both were 8-0, 9-0, something like that. Von Miller coming off one side. You had DeMarcus Ware coming off the other side. Talib and Harris and all those boys out. Really good defense, right? The year they won the Super Bowl. And they were coming off the edge, and I was supposed to have a hot check. And he ended up.
Hot check means if they do this,
if they blitz, they come off the edge, route change, ball come in my hand, and I would have caught the ball and I would have raced for a touchdown. And he came on, he got sacked. JJ, and as you should, and I just pat my chest. That's as you should, right? I'm not sensitive at all. We all trying to win. As you should, get on me, chew me out, right? I walk to the sideline, let him know I got you next time, brother. I see it.
As he was pulling the grass out of his helmet.
Hey, it's part of it,
Listen, When Von Miller comes after you, you need to get your hot right.
Man.
Hot route right.
Hot route right. Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware coming off the edge. Got my quarterback taking unnecessary hits.
Think about this.
Yeah.
How long ago that was, and Von Miller is still unblockable.
Can't block it.
As a defensive end, one of the more physical positions. God, Von Miller's
unbelievable. And the Rams know he ain't unblockable, and they didn't chip him none.
That's my theory why Cam Akers didn't play.
Yeah.
There were two pieces of video on the internet. Cam Small, he missed a blocking assignment. Remember last year, Whitworth? He knocked Whitworth over for the sack Whitworth gave up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Cam Akers tripped him. So that didn't go over well with Whitworth or McVay. So Cam he only got 3 carries in the opener. My takeaway is he missed a blocking assignment. Because if you read McVay's quotes this week, they've all been about, I know he's going to be more committed.
Yeah.
We know So what you're telling, he wasn't committed to some part of his game, and it was the blocking.
You got to protect the franchise,
too. Especially with Von Miller and the Bills' defensive front. All right, Super Bowl champ, former Packer wide receiver. Good stuff. Good stuff today.
Thanks, brother.
Love those inside stories. Spotlight. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.